My relationship with Stevie is fragmented.
Yeah.
I think there's still a lot of love there.
Lindsey Buckingham, the iconic guitarist of Fleetwood Mac, has opened up about the often turbulent relationship he shared with Stevie Nicks. Buckingham's reflections reveal the underlying struggles and bittersweet moments that have shaped their storied partnership, providing a deeper understanding of some of Fleetwood Mac's most memorable music. What actually happened between Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks? In what way did their relationship affect Fleetwood Mac? What are those regrettable details that Lindsey Buckingham shared with the public about dating Stevie Nicks? Join us as we go through the sad details about dating Stevie Nicks that Lindsey Buckingham revealed. Pre-Fleetwood Mac. The early year. The love affair between Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks began much earlier, when they were just ordinary individuals. The two legends first crossed paths in high school, in Palo Alto, California, in the late 1960s. Little did they know, they were on the cusp of something greater. During this time, Lindsey was playing in a band known as Fritz, and he believed Stevie was the ideal candidate to join them as a vocalist. Although they were both music lovers, they were not a couple at this point. They went on dates with other people while playing in Fritz. However, things turned in the early 70s when the band became stagnant. Stevie and Lindsey moved from Palo Alto to Los Angeles, and that must have shifted something. Stevie was later to say that their move was what brought them closer together. However, their move to LA was briefly interrupted when Lindsey contracted mono, forcing them to postpone their move by a year. Stevie rose up to the occasion and nursed him as they continued playing music. Last but not the least, in 1972, they reached the City of Angels. They were not just another duo, they had become Buckingham Nicks then. They even released an album with their names written all over it. The album flopped, and the label got rid of them quicker than they could say hot potato. But they didn't give up. They were poor, but Stevie and Lindsey continued playing the guitar and singing. For Lindsey, it was getting session guitar jobs, while Stevie was getting paid as a waitress. It was not easy to learn a musical instrument late, but as fate would have it, a band needed Lindsey. What band was that? Joining Fleetwood Mac. Lindsey was approached by Mick Fleetwood in 1974 to join his band, but Lindsey insisted on Stevie joining the band. They appeared like the ideal pair on stage, but it looked like they began having issues off-camera. From 1971 to 1975, they were man and wife, but without a wedding ring to show for it. Stevie did all sort of things, which included cooking, cleaning, working, and managing all sorts of things. Difficult Moments gave them one of the most popular songs of the band, Gypsy. With Fleetwood Mac came no rainbows and lollipops for them. They were struggling at that time, but the offer from the band made them take a pause and ponder. Thus, Stevie informed Lindsey that they had too much to lose, so they agreed to give it another try, living together and leaving their financial problems behind. Even when Buckingham and Nicks signed up with Fleetwood Mac, they intended to be there for the long haul. Stevie assumed they would stay there for roughly 1 year, earn some cash, and if it no longer appealed to them, they would travel at some point. However, destiny had different plans for them. When Bob Welch decided to split with the band, Mick Fleetwood heard some tracks from an album known as Buckingham Nicks while visiting Sound City Studios. These tracks, which were performed by Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, impressed him most. Fleetwood was amazed by Lindsey's guitar style, saying that it was stunning and unlike anyone else. But Fleetwood was not even in the process of seeking for new members for the band during this time. It was just the music that got hold of him. Therefore, when it was time to recruit new members into Fleetwood Mac, Buckingham appeared to be the most suitable candidate. But Here's where it gets interesting. Fleetwood never intended for Nicks to be part of the band. However, Buckingham was very clear that he would not agree to join without Stevie. Fleetwood was amicable to the proposal, but desired to check the compatibility first. So he arranged a dinner with the two young songwriters and the rest of Fleetwood Mac members. It's like being cast in a play over dinner. Fortunately, McVie got along well with Stevie the moment she met him, and the rest is history. They were invited to join without even practicing a single song together. We all know that what you see in the spotlight is not what it looks like backstage. Was it the behind-the-stage issues that caused them to break up? Fleetwood Mac. Behind the scene and breakup mixed with rumors. That idea of working with Buckingham and Nicks really motivated McVie. After listening to their album, she was compelled to improve her songwriting skills. When they did sing together, something special occurred. The harmonies caused everyone to shiver and ensured that they were on to a good thing. With that momentum, they went to the studio with Buckingham and Nicks's music, in addition to the new material from McVie. Lindsey performed popular pop-rock hits such as Monday Morning and I'm So Afraid, while Stevie enthralled the audience with her country-infused ballad Crystal, as well as the hypnotic Rhiannon. McVie was not to be outdone, though. Such songs as Say You Love Me and Warm Ways proved her further evolution as an artist. As we know, when the album Fleetwood Mac was released in 1975, they toured rigorously. But as their live performances began in half-empty halls, it created a spark between them and the crowd. The word went round, and they began to perform in front of full houses. They reaped the fruits of their labor when the album made it to the top of the U.S. Billboard chart, making them one of the most successful bands of the year. Songs such as Landslide and Rhiannon remain some of the greatest hits to this date. Their love story was nothing short of a soap opera, and the Stardom only made things worse. Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham's relationship saga inspired some of Fleetwood Mac's best-known songs, including Go Your Own Way, Dreams, and Silver Springs. But there was more to it. The change was in Fleetwood Mac's self-titled album in 1975. Buckingham and Nicks's contributions revitalized the band, and such hit songs as Rhiannon and Landslide were created during this period. This was especially true in the case of Landslide, which Stevie Nicks penned after contemplating on her relationship with Buckingham and the future of their partnership. She said that she decided to go on even though she was tired and unhappy, and the song is about that moment. However, getting there was no easy feat. Fleetwood Mac's climb to the summit was accompanied by personal struggles. By the end of 1976, relationships within the band were deteriorating. Nicks and Buckingham, as well as John and Christine McVie, were having splits. Mick Fleetwood was also in the process of the divorce from his wife. It finally boiled over during the Rumors album, where the band was unable to separate personal problems from business. In spite of this, the album was a significant commercial success, with hits including Dreams and Go Your Own Way. In the succeeding episodes, the relationship between Stevie and Lindsey further deteriorated. It came close to a breaking point during the taping of Rumors. One day, Stevie announced that it was over, but both decided to think of Fleetwood Mac. Finally, reviewing the history of their stormy relationships, Stevie agreed that becoming a member of Fleetwood Mac influenced their lives significantly. She always thought that it was worth it because it took them to a place they could never dream of. Lindsey gets the boot, with Stevie Nicks finally speaking out. The long-running tension between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham reignited in 2018 when Buckingham was unexpectedly dismissed from Fleetwood Mac. The timing couldn't have been more dramatic. The band was in the middle of rehearsals for an upcoming North American tour. Buckingham's sudden removal caused significant disruption, not just logistically but emotionally as well, given his long-standing role in the band's success and identity. But rather than quietly walking away, Buckingham responded with legal action. He filed a lawsuit against Fleetwood Mac, accusing the band of breach of fiduciary duty, breach of oral contract, and intentional interference with his economic prospects. His primary claim was that he had lost considerable earnings from being excluded from the tour, and he demanded compensation. Though the details were never fully disclosed, the matter was eventually settled out of court. Outside the courtroom, Buckingham didn't hold back from voicing his side of the story. In a series of interviews, he openly discussed his disappointment and frustration over how the situation was handled. Although the remaining band members mostly kept quiet publicly, Buckingham strongly hinted that Stevie Nicks played a central role in his removal. He alleged that Nicks had delivered what amounted to an ultimatum, telling the band they had to choose between her or him. The full context behind Buckingham's dismissal has never been entirely clear, leaving room for speculation. What is evident, however, is that the incident laid bare the fragile, often volatile relationships within Fleetwood Mac, a band whose internal conflicts have long been a part of its legend. Stevie Nicks, for her part, maintained a largely quiet stance until September 2021, when she shared her perspective on the events. One of the main sources of friction, she claimed, was Buckingham's request to delay the tour to promote his solo album. Nicks opposed the idea, insisting the band should stick to the original schedule. This disagreement over priorities only intensified their already strained relationship. Things reached a breaking point at the MusiCares Person of the Year event, where Nicks was being honored. During her acceptance speech, Buckingham was reportedly seen laughing and making gestures that Nicks interpreted as dismissive or mocking. This behavior, she later explained, was the final straw. It wasn't just about a single moment. It was a culmination of years of unresolved conflict. Nicks eventually clarified that she did not demand Buckingham's dismissal. Rather, she said she was prepared to walk away from the band entirely if nothing changed. According to her, remaining in a situation she felt was emotionally toxic wasn't an option. Her decision, she emphasized, was about protecting her personal boundaries and fostering a healthier work environment. She insisted that no one should feel forced to stay in a dynamic that undermines their well-being or sense of self. Lindsey gets candid. When the news came up that Lindsey Buckingham had left the band, he was not afraid to speak about it. He did this in interviews where he directly blamed Stevie Nicks of being the primary cause of his dismissal. According to Buckingham, Nicks gave the band an ultimatum. It was either him or her. He stated that Nicks was the one who wanted to have control over the band, and that is why he was fired. The comments from Buckingham depicted a power struggle within the Fleetwood Mac, especially surrounding Stevie Nicks. Buckingham also pointed out that there has always been some tension between the two of them. He said that theirs was a love-hate relationship. Although they loved each other, they also fought bitterly, and their rivalry has followed them to the workplace. As Buckingham noted, these two roles have been both motivation and conflict during their careers. He admitted that their past is full of emotional highs and lows, and this influences their relations within the band. Speaking to Rolling Stone, Lindsey Buckingham stated that Stevie Nicks never contacted him after he underwent a heart surgery in 2019. More recently, Buckingham hinted that Nicks may still care for him and that deep feelings left unresolved when they broke up while making the Fleetwood Mac Rumors album prevented them from getting over each other. He said that recording the album together while likely ended was very stressful, and they probably suppressed their emotions just to finish it. After ending their relationship, Buckingham and Nicks went on to live different lives. Buckingham remarried and had more children while Nicks pursued her music career. This famous feud was resolved when Mick Fleetwood contacted Buckingham after Green's death in 2020, and the two exchanged words about a potential farewell tour. But Buckingham noted that reuniting would also mean Nicks's consent, and the two had not been on speaking terms for years. In an episode of the WTF with Mark Maron podcast, Buckingham told his side of the story. He blamed his band members for not standing up for him during the incident and thought that skipping the tour negatively impacted Fleetwood Mac. However, to his disappointment, Buckingham knew that the circumstances of his departure ruled out the possibility of a reunion. He and Mick Fleetwood are still good friends, but he is still on bad terms with Stevie Nicks. After leaving Fleetwood Mac, Buckingham carried on his music career and experienced health issues such as a heart attack in the year 2019. Nicks contacted him after the heart incident. Some friendships are unbreakable. He has been married to Kristen Messner since 2000, and they have 3 children, but the couple has filed for divorce in 2021. Nevertheless, Buckingham continues to participate in music production and performs as a solo artist alongside different musicians and bands. What was their life before fame and the limelight? How did they become that famous? Early life of Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. Lindsey Buckingham was born on October 3, 1949, in Palo Alto, California. He was the youngest of 3 brothers and spent his early years immersed in music. Greg, his elder brother, was a swimmer, while Lindsey revealed early signs of talent in music at a tender age. He was born to Ruthita and Morris Buckingham, who encouraged him in his music endeavors. Although Lindsey's father had a coffee plant, Lindsey credited his mother for cultivating his interests in music. Buckingham's musical influences started from classical and went up to rock and roll. Folk revival of the 1960s and artists such as Elvis Presley and the Kingston Trio inspired him most. He began learning the guitar when he was a kid, and he was already quite skilled at it. Buckingham went to Menlo Atherton High School, where he met his Fleetwood Mac bandmate, Stevie Nicks. He then briefly attended San Jose State University before dropping out to pursue a music career. He began playing in a band named Fritz in 1966. This is where he met Stevie Nicks again. His early years were characterized by efforts to succeed in the music industry, despite the fact that he did not have an instant success. Unlike most rock guitarists, Lindsey Buckingham eschews the pick, favoring a fingerstyle technique and strumming with his middle and ring fingers. Upon joining Fleetwood Mac, Buckingham initially played a Gibson Les Paul Custom. Before this, his main guitar was a Fender Telecaster, which he also used on his first Fleetwood Mac album alongside Fender Stratocasters, equipped with an alembic blaster. In 1978, he collaborated with Rick Turner, the founder of the Renaissance Guitar Company, to create the Model 1 guitar, which he has since used extensively both with Fleetwood Mac and in his solo career. For acoustic performances, Buckingham typically uses a Taylor Guitar 814C or a Rick Turner Renaissance RS6, but for live renditions of Big Love, he opts for a custom-made Gibson Chet Atkins guitar. In the past, he has also played an Ovation balladeer from the early 1970s to the late 1980s. During the 1980s, Buckingham was known for his use of the Fairlight CMI sampling synthesizer. Buckingham cites Brian Wilson and Phil Spector as significant influences and has worked extensively as a producer, both for Fleetwood Mac and his solo projects. He describes himself as a stylist, intertwining the songwriting process with studio production. Stevie Nicks was born on May 26, 1948, to Jess Roberts Nicks and Barbara Nicks in Phoenix, Arizona. She was born as Stephanie Lynn Nicks, but was nicknamed Stevie after she pronounced her own name during childhood. She was born and raised in several places because her father, Jess Nicks, used to work as a corporate executive. Regardless of the numerous changes in her residence, music remained a stable part of Nicks's life. Her grandfather was Aaron Nicks, who was a country music singer, and this is what shaped her music. Nicks began to sing at an early age and would perform duets with her grandfather. She got her first guitar at 16 and started composing her own songs. Nicks went to Arcadia High School in California and later to Menlo Atherton High School, where she met Lindsey Buckingham. The two became close friends as they shared a love for music and started doing shows immediately. Nicks started attending San Jose State University after her high school education, but she dropped out to pursue her music career. For several years, she was performing with the Buckingham and Fritz, and the group opened for Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. Nevertheless, Fritz were never able to gain commercial success and broke up in 1972. Following the dissolution of Fritz, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks opted to form a band featuring both singers. They relocated to Los Angeles and started writing their own songs. Their efforts were rewarded when they signed with Polydor Records, and their first album, Buckingham Nicks, came out in 1973. Despite not selling many copies, the album introduced their sound to important people in the music industry and labels. The album contained elements of rock, folk, and pop, showcasing Buckingham's guitar work and Nicks's nasally vocals. Although it never achieved significant commercial success, Buckingham Nicks has become a favorite among the band's fans. The duo persisted in performing and recording, seeking a hit that would immortalize them and make them famous. Their luck, however, turned when the drummer of Fleetwood Mac, Mick Fleetwood, heard their music and offered them a place in the band. Fleetwood Mac was in a transitional period, and so required fresh blood to give them a new sound. Their answer was positive, which opened the doors to Buckingham and Nicks becoming stars and producing some of the most memorable rock music ever. Entering the spotlight. Fleetwood Mac in 1974 was a band in transition. The band had frequently changed the members and was searching for stability during this period. John McVie, Mick Fleetwood, and Christine McVie wanted new faces to inject new energy into the band. Mick Fleetwood came across Buckingham Nicks and was particularly struck by guitar playing by Buckingham. He went to Buckingham asking to become a member of Fleetwood Mac. Buckingham concurred, but only if Stevie Nicks would be part of it as well. Fleetwood Mac accepted, and Buckingham and Nicks thus became official members of the band on New Year's Eve of 1974. This new lineup would soon evolve into the most successful version of Fleetwood Mac. Putting together Buckingham and Nicks was a great idea because they introduced freshness and innovation to the band. Their debut album as Fleetwood Mac was released in 1975 and was self-titled. It featured such songs as Rhiannon and Landslide, both penned by Nicks. This album went multi-platinum and reached #1 on the Billboard 200, making this band a key player in the music scene. Their second album, Rumors, which was released in the year 1977, brought the band mainstream success. Rumors became their biggest-selling album of all times, reaching the top of the charts in almost every country. The album was received very well, mostly because of the intensity of the lyrical content, which was the result of the members' interpersonal dynamics. The album would not have been the same without Buckingham and Nicks, especially the track Go Your Own Way and Dreams. Nonetheless, personal troubles could not prevent Buckingham and Nicks from producing music that touched the hearts of millions of fans. Their dances were energetic and spectacular, and it was clear that they enjoyed performing together. As they progressed, so did the band's fame and wealth, but with it came attention and expectations. Fame and the expectations of never-ending touring proved to be too much for Buckingham and Nicks as a couple. By the time the Rumours album was recorded and released, they were no longer a couple. It was a bitter and rather tortuous split, and they had to carry on playing together in the band. Their personal issues were portrayed in their music through songs which depicted their wrongdoings, breakups, among other issues. Nevertheless, they stayed loyal to the band and the music it produced and created. Fleetwood Mac released more albums like Tusk in 1979 and Mirage in 1982. However, the band members experienced interpersonal conflicts. During the 1980s, Buckingham and Nicks started recording for their solo albums while being members of Fleetwood Mac. Both Nicks and Buckingham embarked on their solo careers, Nicks's Belladonna in 1981 and The Wild Heart in 1983, and Buckingham's Law and Order in 1981 and Go Insane in 1984. Their solo performances enabled each of them to have a personal style of dancing, but it also exposed the disparities between them. Despite personal and career changes in their lives, Buckingham and Nicks continued to be musically intertwined. Their love was never perfect, but went on influencing their creativity as well as the intrigue of their followers. As Fleetwood Mac's popularity rose, tensions continued to rise between Buckingham and Nicks. The success of Rumours exposed the group to immense pressure that contributed to growing tensions within the band. This was portrayed in the album, which detailed the internal problems of the band, including Buckingham and Nicks' heartbreak. The pressure due to touring, recording, and performances did not allow Buckingham and Nicks to pay attention to their relationship problems. Their love life deteriorated, characterized by constant altercations and estrangement. The same music that had drawn them closer was now pushing them further apart. The enormous expectations of living up to their glamorous images as celebrities, coupled with the pressure of the music industry, most likely fostered a lot of stress and conflict. Conflicts between Buckingham and Nicks were frequent, and personal issues often interfered with the band's professional activity. It just made things worse that their outlook on life and music was fundamentally different. The passion they harbored to each other, coupled with the pressures of stardom, usually brewing up to heated confrontations. It is important to understand that the same characteristics that fueled their success led to their problems as well. Because they had established an emotional bond with each other, the conflicts they had were not just musical, but also stems from problems in their daily lives. Of course, the band was supportive, but it also had to deal with these internal issues that sometimes interfered with work. Nevertheless, both Buckingham and Nicks went on creating songs which reflected their experiences. Every song was a testimony of their tortured affair. Buckingham and Nicks started dating during the recording of the Fleetwood Mac album, and by the late 1970s, they had separated. However, their separation was a critical point of transition in their lives and in the band's history. Although their relationship was not a success, they remained colleagues in the band and struggled to compromise mostly because of their love for music. The separation was not at all mutual. Buckingham and Nicks both had a problem with trying to go forward in life and leaving behind the things that haunted them. Their relations translated into lingering emotions and conflicts. The band members' decision to press on and put aside their squabbles for the sake of the music was a wise one. But it was not without its problems. As the band progressed through the 1980s, there were further changes within the lineup of Fleetwood Mac. Buckingham and Nicks both went on to record albums on their own, which added another dimension to this rather tumultuous dynamic. Besides, their off-stage and on-stage relations were closely watched by fans and the media, which made their relationship even more complex. Their willingness to remain band members and write music and perform while dealing with these issues showed dedication to their music and their audiences. Yet, this professional collaboration had its own complications. Their past was never far behind, and occasionally created tension in the band's dynamics. The fact that Buckingham and Nicks went on to release solo albums meant that they had creative freedom. However, they spent less time collaborating. This separation, while necessary, was painful. Their participation in Fleetwood Mac meant that they always remained linked, unable to let go of one another because their past was intertwined. They had ups and downs in their relationship and also in their separation. There were times where they were friends and worked together, but there were also moments where they were enemies and did not speak to each other. Nevertheless, their songs remained a vivid and poignant symbol of their love. True that they were crazy about each other, still, the question that made the public curious is, did they date others apart from themselves? Former lovers of Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. Besides Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham was involved in other important relationships before and after their affair. During the 1980s, he dated Carol Ann Harris, who wrote a memoir titled Storms of Love: My Life with Lindsey Buckingham and Fleetwood Mac, which chronicles their toxic partnership. Harris's book delved into Buckingham's life during his time with Fleetwood Mac, including the best and worst of times. In 1998, Buckingham started a relationship with Kristen Messner, who is a photographer. The couple tied the knot in the year 2000, and they share 3 children. Messner has been a positive influence in Buckingham's life, especially when it comes to his career and other issues. Nevertheless, in the recent past, Buckingham has been active in producing music and touring as a musician. He also released solo albums like Seeds We Sow in 2011 and Lindsey Buckingham in 2021. In 2018, he was dismissed from Fleetwood Mac amid controversies, and this led to a legal battle with the band. However, this has not deterred Buckingham, who has continued to perform live and record new music. There has also been some concern over Buckingham's health in recent years. He had open-heart surgery in 2019, which impacted his vocal cords as a result. However, he has not given up and remains adamant on pursuing his musical career. Closeness to his children and wife has been instrumental in supporting him throughout the highs and lows of his personal and professional life. Fertility issues and relationships have been significant areas of interest in Stevie Nicks's personal life. Before Buckingham, she had a relationship with Lindsey's fellow Fritz band member Javier Pacheco. After breaking up with Buckingham, Nicks began a highly publicized relationship with Don Henley, the drummer of Eagles. They had a fiery love affair but had to part because of the differences in their schedules and the demands of their careers. Nicks also had a relationship with Joe Walsh from the Eagles in early 1980s. She has referred to Walsh as one of the great loves of her life, and their relationship was something that changed her. However, their love affair was cut short because both could not handle substance abuse and powerful careers. Nicks later married Robin Anderson's husband, Kim Anderson, in the year 1983. The union was due to loss and a need to look after Robin's offspring, and the marriage was dissolved after 3 months. Nicks has not been in any known relationship since then and has continued with her music and career. Nicks has remained active in the music world, both in performances and in the creation of new music. She is still active in the music industry, famous for her voice and her enigmatic style on stage. Nicks has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame once with Fleetwood Mac in 1998, and the second time for her solo work in 2019. What do you think of these couples' relationship? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and to watch more like this. click on the video shown on your screen. Thanks for watching. See you soon.